I still remember that afternoon clearly. I sat in my car, right after leaving the office for the last time. My hands were shaking, my throat tightened, cold sweat dripping onto the steering wheel. Not because of fear, but because of a strange feeling, relief. Sounds crazy, right? Walking away from a stable career, a six-figure salary, colleagues' admiration, I should have felt regret, should have felt anxious, right? But instead, I felt like I had just taken off a backpack full of rocks that had been weighing on me for years. If I told you, leaving my old career is what saved my life, would you believe me? Because out there are millions of people who were just like I was. Every morning driving to work, feeling their hearts pound, not from excitement, but from anxiety. Every night, lying in bed, asking, how much longer can I keep living like this? We often believe stability equals happiness. But what could be more dangerous than living day after day just to please a resume, while inside your soul is slowly dying? And that's where my story begins. If you're watching this video, chances are you've felt what I once felt. A good job, a stable income, everyone looking at you and thinking, you're successful. But only you know that behind the smile, you're exhausted. You wake up every morning feeling like you're heading into a battlefield. Emails, deadlines, meetings after meetings. Everything runs like a machine that never stops. You sit in front of a computer screen for 8 hours, but your mind drifts somewhere else, tired and hollow. You come home drained. Your loved ones want to talk, but you just want silence. You want time for yourself, but your body only has enough strength to drag itself into the next day. I know that feeling. I once had everything on paper, a high position at the company, a good income, recognition from colleagues. But inside, I felt like a machine without a soul. I wasn't working out of passion, but out of fear. Fear of failure, fear of being left behind, fear of losing the stability society keeps praising. If you've ever looked around the office, seen those tense faces, seen yourself among them, and whispered in your head, is this all my life is going to be? Then you're standing where I once stood. And I want to tell you what happened when I dared to walk away. Because sometimes, the very moment we think we're losing everything is when we find our real life. I used to think I was someone who could endure anything. Stay up late to finish a project? No problem. Work weekends to chase KPIs? Been there. Down a few more cups of coffee to power through the fatigue? Easy. But the body doesn't lie. It started with tiny signs. Insomnia. I'd lie in bed for hours, replaying every meeting, every unanswered email in my head. Then came the headaches, the stomach pain, and those mornings I had to drag myself out of bed, feeling like there was a heavy stone lodged in my chest. One day at the office, I sat in front of 40 PowerPoint slides, preparing for a presentation to the executive team. The screen blurred, my heart raced, sweat soaked my shirt. I stood up to get some water and collapsed right in the middle of the conference room. People called 911. The doctor said I had a severe panic attack, compounded by exhaustion from overwork. They asked me when the last time I truly rested was. I fumbled and couldn't answer. And that was the shock. For the first time, I realized the career I was clinging to was actually taking my life from me. We're often taught that pushing a little harder will get us through. But the truth is, burnout isn't just tiredness. It's a state where your body and mind speak in unison. I can't take this anymore. The World Health Organization recognizes burnout as a real occupational syndrome, not just ordinary stress. It comes with 3 signs: energy depletion, cynicism toward work, and reduced effectiveness. Sound familiar? I went through all 3. The scary thing is, many of us don't realize it until our bodies force us to stop. I remember once, on the way home, I glanced at the rearview mirror and saw my face. Dark circles under my eyes. Pale lips. I thought, who is this person? Is this really me? In that moment, I understood. I wasn't living anymore. I was merely existing. Day after day, I traded my health, my soul, and time with my family just to keep a title. The painful truth is, some seats are very expensive, and the price you pay is your life. If you're listening and seeing yourself in this story, try one small thing. Every night before bed, take a notebook and write down 3 things. How did work make you feel today? Exhausted, anxious, or energized? What moment in the day drained you the most? What, even something tiny, brought you a small spark of positivity? Do this consistently for 7 days. You'll see the real picture of how your job is affecting you. Because sometimes, before we can change, we need the courage to look the truth in the eye. And that's when I realized I couldn't keep living like this forever. But to step out, I needed an awakening moment. A turning point that changed everything. And that's the story I'll tell you in the next part. The turning point. The moment I realized leaving wasn't failure. It was the only way to survive. One evening, after coming home from the hospital, I sat alone in the living room. The room dark except for a desk lamp. On the table, my laptop was still open, showing dozens of unanswered emails. My phone kept lighting up with messages from coworkers. I stared at the screen, then shut it down. And for the first time in years, I let the room fall into silence. In that silence, a question rose in my mind, so clear it felt like someone was whispering in my ear. If tomorrow were my last day, would I regret spending my life on this job? The answer came immediately. Yes, deeply. You know, we often trick ourselves. Just one more year, one more achievement, and I'll be fine. But the truth is, there's no finish line. Like a treadmill with no off button, you keep running until you collapse. I realized I wasn't truly living my own life. I was living the life society expected of me. My career was like a tree planted in the wrong soil. No matter how much I watered it, it couldn't bloom. Society teaches us that strong people never quit. But the truth is, sometimes real strength lies in daring to walk away. Did you know Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks, left a stable finance job to pursue an idea many people mocked? Or that before becoming a renowned designer, Vera Wang was a failed figure skater and a fashion editor passed over for a promotion? If they hadn't walked away, the world might not know Starbucks or Vera Wang wedding dresses. This made me understand, stepping off the old path isn't a period at the end of a sentence. It's the door to a new journey. If you're feeling stuck in your job or your life right now, try this small exercise. Grab a pen and paper and write down, if I leave, what do I get back for myself? Time, health, freedom? If I stay, what's the price I pay? Stress, distance from family, loss of joy? If I try a new direction, what opportunities could open up? No need for certainty, just possibilities. Sometimes, when we see everything in black and white, we forget life has many colors. This exercise doesn't force you to decide right now, but it helps you see more clearly what you're losing and what you might reclaim. That night, I decided I would walk away. Not because I was sure about the road ahead, but because I was sure I couldn't keep living the way I was. And that was the beginning of a rebirth. In the next part, I'll tell you about the rebuild and growth, a tough but hopeful journey where I learned to rebuild my life on what truly matters to me. Leaving my old job wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The first morning I woke up with no meetings on the calendar, no barrage of emails. I felt relieved and terrified. No more title to introduce when someone asked, "What do you do?" No more steady stream of money hitting my account. No more armor of a successful career to cover the emptiness inside. Instead, there was a vast, open space. But in that space, I found the chance to rebuild. In the early days, I wrestled with a whole spectrum of emotions: worry, fear, self-doubt. There were mornings I sat on the couch for hours, wondering, did I do something crazy? Sometimes I almost wanted to go back to my old job, just to feel safe again. But then, in the middle of the panic, I started doing one small thing: allowing myself to truly rest. I took longer walks, ate breakfast slowly, called my parents just to check in, and picked up books I had abandoned long ago. And then I realized, for years I had lived like a machine, to the point I forgot what it actually feels like to live. When you cut away a career that's taken up most of your life, you'll ask yourself, who am I if I'm not my job? It's a painful question, but also a liberating one. I started writing down the values that matter most to me: health, time for family, creative freedom, doing meaningful work, not just working for money. And I decided every work choice from now on had to revolve around these values. That's how I rebuilt the foundation. Not from society's expectations, but from my own heart. Many well-known people have gone through a similar journey. J.K. Rowling was unemployed, living on welfare, before writing Harry Potter. Steve Jobs was fired from the company he founded, before returning and turning Apple into an icon. Their common thread? Crisis wasn't the ending. It was the starting point for rebuilding stronger, truer to what mattered. One thing that helped me through the hardest stretch was practicing gratitude. Every morning, I wrote down 3 small things I was grateful for: a good breakfast, a warm conversation, a beautiful sunset. When you leave an old career, it's easy to get swept up in fear and scarcity. But gratitude reminds you that even when you've lost a lot, you still have precious things. And from that foundation, you rebuild trust and strength. It didn't happen overnight, but after months, I realized I had started to breathe again. I had more energy, more ideas, and most importantly, I felt truly alive. I found a new job, not as flashy, but aligned with what I genuinely care about. I made time for family, for myself, for the childhood dreams I'd shelved. And every morning when I wake up, instead of feeling like I'm heading into battle, I feel like I'm stepping into a meaningful day. What I learned is this: sometimes, to find your life again, you have to be brave enough to lose a part of it. Walking away isn't an ending. It's an invitation to begin again, on a foundation that's stronger and more honest. When I look back on my journey, there's one truth I want to share. Walking away isn't failure. It's an act of courage. Because sometimes, the most dangerous thing isn't losing everything, but continuing to live a life that isn't yours. I used to think my old career was the whole world, but it turns out, the world is so much bigger. Some doors only open when we have the courage to close the ones we're used to. Some sunrises only appear when we dare to walk through the night. On the day I left that job, I didn't know what the future would hold. But today, looking back, I know one thing for sure: that decision saved my life. If you're at a crossroads, if you wake up every morning with a heavy feeling, if you feel your life force fading, remember this: you're not alone. And more importantly, you always have a choice. Choose to stay for safety, or choose to step away to find yourself again. No one can decide for you, but don't let fear be the only reason you stay. Imagine life as a journey by train. There are stations where we need to get off, even if the train is bright, crowded, and everyone else is still sitting. Because somewhere out there, another train is waiting to take you to where you truly belong. I want to invite you, if you've ever had to walk away from a job, a relationship, a path, share your story in the comments. Because who knows, your story might be the light, the inspiration that helps someone out there find the courage to take their step. And remember, sometimes the boldest step is the one that helps you find your life again.